Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Palestinian security experts expect terrorism to increase in 2014. PA security forces have published a report which paints a disturbing picture for the year to come. The document states that there will likely be an increase in violence in Judea and Samaria, as well as throughout Israel. It said that 2014 will see a rise in spontaneous attacks by Palestinians against Israelis. It said that if the peace talks do not yield a finalized agreement, then the campaign to kidnap Israeli soldiers and civilians will continue and terrorist attacks will increase.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has just finalized his last mission to the Middle East, meeting with Israeli, Palestinian, and leaders of Arab states. In a fervent effort to advance negotiations, Kerry spoke about progress and peace for both sides. One of the major issues in the talks is the Palestinians' insistence on the right of return for displaced members of their community. According to statistics compiled by the United Nations Work and Relief Committee, about 720,000 Arabs lived in pre-state Israel in 1948 prior to the War of Independence, of whom there are today between 30 to 50,000. UNRWA was founded to specifically deal with Palestinian refugees and operates under a set of guidelines that critics argue perpetuates the Palestinian refugee problem by additionally counting the descendants of the original inhabitants, amounting to more than 5 million Palestinians demanding the right to return, not to a future Palestinian state, but the Jewish state of Israel as part of any final peace agreement. Israeli Arab citizens have also stated that they are not willing to relocate to such a Palestinian state and insist on remaining in Israel.
A senior Palestinian official has told Syrian television that a U.S. brokered peace deal with Israel is just the first stage in eradicating the Jewish state altogether. Abbas Zaki is a high-ranking leader of the ruling Fatah party and a close ally of PA President Mahmoud Abbas. He said that the inspiring idea of the destruction of the Jewish state must be realized in stages, and that the first stage is a peace agreement in which Israel must cede land. This is very likely the official policy of the PA. Several other Palestinian leaders have spoken out about the importance of taking Israel in stages. Mahmoud Abbas himself attended a speech by the Religious Affairs Minister of the Palestinian Authority, who said, if Israel withdraws from Jerusalem, if Israel uproots the settlements, if Israel removes the security fence, what will be with Israel? Israel will come to an end.
The mayor and residents of a Prague suburb are demanding that the Palestinian diplomatic mission be evicted after the death of Palestinian envoy to the Czech Republic, Jamal al-Jamal. According to authorities, Jamal was killed when an explosive device attached to his safe exploded. When Czech authorities searched the mission, they discovered illegal weapons and firearms, including submachine guns and explosives that were unregistered with the Czech authorities. According to a statement released by the country's foreign ministry, the arms cache constitutes a breach of diplomatic rules. A former Czech chief of staff said that perhaps the incident may even involve a well-organized weapons and explosives distribution network. Prague Mayor Peter Heil said that the city has lost its trust in the diplomats and feels deceived. Jakub Zahora of the Association for International Affairs said that the explosion and the subsequent discovery could lead not only to the expulsion of the diplomat's successor, but even the closure of the Palestinian mission in the Eastern European nation.
The Vatican has announced that Pope Francis will visit the Jewish state of Israel in May of this year. He will also visit Jordan and areas under the control of the Palestinian Authority on his whirlwind tour of the Holy Land. The pontiff plans to hold Mass in the Palestinian-controlled city of Bethlehem, where Christians have been murdered and driven out by Palestinian Muslims. He will also visit the holy city of Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people in the state of Israel. Pope Francis has made strides in calling for an end to anti-Semitism and has urged Christians to repent for the Holocaust and to embrace their Jewish brothers and sisters. The Pope has hosted Prime Minister Netanyahu and the President of Israel and has worked tirelessly to revive relations between the Vatican and the Jewish state.
The Israeli cabinet held a 2-hour discussion on the matter of Palestinian incitement and media indoctrination last week. The government was briefed by experts who presented evidence and summarized the issue into 4 specific points. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement following the meeting, saying that clear data reveals that incitement activity is concentrated in communicating the following messages. First, that Israel has no right to exist. The second is that the disappearance of Israel is unavoidable and is expected soon. The third major point of Palestinian propaganda promotes the belief that Jews are subhuman and must be dealt with accordingly. And lastly, that all forms of struggle, including terrorism, are legitimate as a means to realize the final goal, which is the destruction of the Jewish state. The forum was conducted by Palestinian Media Watch, an internationally acclaimed Arabic-language watchdog organization.
Hezbollah is smuggling advanced laser-guided missiles into Lebanon. According to U.S. intelligence officials, terrorists associated with Iran's proxy army in Lebanon have been smuggling parts of an advanced missile system to Lebanon, one piece at a time. The Wall Street Journal reported that at least 12 anti-ship laser-guided missiles may already be in Hezbollah's possession in Syria. The missiles are most likely being provided by Iran, who fears the overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad by the Syrian rebel army.
Massive boycotts of the New York Post are being staged after the paper ran a cover story many say slandered a murdered father of 8. The beaten, burned body of the 38-year-old Jewish businessman Menachem Stark was found in a dumpster on Long Island following his abduction and murder. The following day, the New York Post published a cover story referring to the victim as a slumlord with headlines questioning who didn't want him dead. Leaders of the ultra-Orthodox community expressed shock and outrage and called the incident indecent and insensitive coverage of Stark's brutal murder. New York City Councilman Stephen Levin said that the Post's unbelievably offensive headline came the day after Mr. Stark's family and 8 children laid him to rest, and that for the paper to suggest a person deserves to be murdered is sickening and reaches a new low. He added that the entire community is outraged by such a vulgar headline that is so offensive and horrific. Stores and kiosks have joined a boycott of the paper, and a widespread letter campaign demanding an apology from the Post is raging across the internet.
The Israeli Ministry of Defense and the American Missile Defense Agency celebrated another successful test of the Arrow 3 missile defense system last week. The Arrow 3 is part of a 4-tiered system created in Israel, which includes the Iron Dome, the Magic Wand, and the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 anti-ballistic missiles. The Arrow 3 is designed to intercept incoming long-range rockets which have penetrated Earth's atmosphere, namely Iranian ballistic missiles, which could be armed with nuclear warheads. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the work, saying that the successful launch was the result of American-Israeli cooperation. He said that he will continue developing the means to protect the citizens of Israel and to secure the future of the State of Israel. The Israeli Defense Ministry said the successful test is an important milestone in the operational capability of the State of Israel to protect itself against expected threats in the region. It is another step in the development process which will be continued in the next few years.
The Israeli Knesset has approved a project to make it the greenest parliament in the world. The goal of the initiative is to transform the legislature into one that conducts itself by the guidelines of sustainability. The first phase will span throughout the coming year and include the construction of a massive solar field at the Knesset, the use of LED light bulbs throughout the building, as well as the installation of a water desalination system. There will also be a major energy-saving campaign to significantly reduce the Knesset's carbon footprint. Water and Energy Minister Silvan Shalom called the move blessed and of great importance, saying that encouraging energy efficiency, the saving of electricity, will not only advance usage of natural gas and renewable energy, but it will also reduce pollution, preserve the environment, and save a great deal of money.
A team of Israeli archaeologists have translated the oldest engraved artifact ever to be found in Jerusalem. The 3,000-year-old fragment of a clay jug holds a Paleo-Hebrew inscription on it, which has been debated in the archaeological community since its discovery last July. Experts now agree that the inscription describes the type of wine that was stored in the jug, the region it came from, and the date it was bottled. The jug dates to the time of the construction of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem, and the Israeli archaeologists believe that it held wine for the soldiers and laborers who worked on building the temple.
Those who dreamed about the Jewish state, those who wrought the historical miracle and against all odds established a state, those who arrived in the homeland to their new home, those who propelled Israel forward step after step.
I have no doubt that this expanded partnership with our many Christian supporters will greatly strengthen Israel in the years ahead. And I want to thank you all for being part of that historic effort and that historic partnership. May God bless all of Israel's friends throughout the world. May God bless you.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're once again in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio in this beautiful day. My guest today is Michael Eisenstadt, Artistic Administrator of the Israeli Opera. Michael, thank you for being on the show.
It's a pleasure. How are you?
Michael, a lot of people when they think about Israel, they don't necessarily think about opera. What is the Israeli Opera?
The Israeli Opera is one of the greatest artistic organizations of this country. We've been around for almost 30 years now, last 20 years in a wonderful, almost state-of-the-art opera house in Tel Aviv. It's a first-class international opera house where all leading conductors, directors, singers of the opera world perform on a regular basis. And aside of our regular season at the opera house in Tel Aviv, we do a lot of education, outreach, extracurricular activities. And one of the major top things that we've been doing in the last 4 years is the International Israeli Opera Festival at Masada.
Yes, you have this now 4th annual opera festival in Masada. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the idea came out as one of the ideas of Hannah Munitz, the general director of the Israeli Opera. There are opera festivals and archaeological sites all over the world. It's not that like this is something that we invented here. From the Arena in Verona to the Caracalla in Rome to the Roman Theatre in Orange and other places. And there are amazing summer opera festivals all over the world, from Santa Fe in the States to Savonlinna in Finland and others. And Mrs. Munitz always wanted to have this kind of festival in Israel. About 12 years ago, we had for a couple of years a festival in Caesarea, in Caesarea, in the Roman theater there. But Masada is the utmost archaeological site in Israel. Everyone around the world knows about Masada. And the dream was really to bring opera to Masada. It wasn't easy. It's not simple because there's no really amphitheater there. There's no structure there for performing arts. But we've managed to speak with everyone involved, and now for the 4th year this coming June we'll be in Masada presenting opera 4 evenings, each evening for 7,500 people. It's quite stunning.
You know, you call it an international festival. Do people come from all over the world? And how long does it last for? Is it a one-day event, or does it actually go on for several days?
The festival is a week, and actually this year we'll extend it a little bit, and I'll tell about this in a second. Yes, from the first festival in 2010, we were quite amazed that people from all over the world came to watch the performances. There are quite a lot of opera aficionados around the world who travel during the summers from one opera festival to another, and about 4,000 of them came to Nabucco in 2010. And you know them because when you travel in opera festivals, you see them, you know. And the most amazing thing was that, as far as we know at least, this was the first time ever that there was cultural tourism, international cultural tourism coming into Israel, which is quite a feat. I mean, there's a lot of tourism, a lot of people come to this wonderful place, but not for cultural reasons. And we started with that in 2010 with, as I said, with Nabucco, 2011 Aida, 2012 Carmen. Every year, thousands of people also from around the world are coming to this amazing festival.
You know, there are people in Israel from all over the world. We had the massive Aliyah from Russia. There are many people who make Aliyah from America. How does having Jews from all different segments of society, all different countries, affect opera?
Well, opera, you know, first and foremost, aside of all other art forms, performing art forms, is really an international art form, because you perform opera in the vernacular, not in the vernacular, sorry, you perform opera in the country, in the language it was written. So if it's a Czech opera, you sing it in Czech. If it's Italian, you sing it in Italian. So you always have people from all over the world, singers from all over the world doing this. In the festival in Masada, we'll have soloists from Romania, from Italia, from Israel, of course. We have an Israeli conductor who resides in France and conducts all over the world. The conductor is coming from, the director is coming from Poland, so it's really very international. As far as all those heritage international groups living here in Israel, all those immigrants, we were really lucky, because when the massive Aliyah from the former Soviet Union came to this country, we got a lot of people to our chorus, to our orchestra, to our backstage. Until today, for example, our wig department is all people who came from former Soviet Union. So it's amazing. If you come to the Israeli opera backstage, you will hear all the languages in the world talk together.
Is there any opera that's done in Hebrew?
Yes, of course. First of all, as a side, we do a lot of operas. We translate them into Hebrew for young audiences. We have a program that's called Children Opera Hour, which is a 1-hour introduction to opera for very young children. And we'll do the very popular fairy tales opera like Magic Flute, like Hansel and Gretel, like Cinderella, in a condensed version, 1 hour in Hebrew. But operas today are written all over the world. We've commissioned several operas that we performed here. The last one was Child Dreams, based on a Hanoch Levin play, one of the major playwrights of Israel. And next year, which is going to be the 30th anniversary for the Israeli opera, we're going to do a one evening in which we will do 3 new 1-hour operas, all in Hebrew. So definitely there's opera in Hebrew as well.
Michael, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I think is, come to Israel, enjoy opera al fresco, come to this amazing place in Masada, which is really spectacular, and you'll see the first-rate international opera. And this year, aside of the week in Masada, we're extending it to a weekend in Akko, in the Crusaders' courts out there. So 2 international UNESCO heritage places in Israel presenting first-rate international opera. It's something that really is not paralleled anywhere else in the world.
Thank you, Michael, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
This is Jerusalem, Israel's capital city. It's an ancient and modern treasure that is beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
Anywhere else, this would be a vacation by a lake. But this is the Sea of Galilee. The wonders of Israel are beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
In 1980, the Israeli parliament passed a law declaring a united Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the State of Israel. Threatened by the Arab League with an oil embargo, national embassies in Jerusalem closed their doors. That same year, Christians from around the world gathered in Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Sensing the isolation of the Israeli people, the participants and leaders of this gathering decided to establish the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
It's always important for us to remember that the Christian embassy was actually established out of the Feast of Tabernacles. And this is something which marvels me until today, to think that for now more than 30 years, Christians are coming from all over the world to celebrate with us a Jewish festival, Sukkot. Ray, what is your experience with that?
Just for me personally, it's such an amazing expression of unity of the body of Christ to see so many Christians from so many different backgrounds, from so many different faith origins, and they come to Jerusalem and everything is kind of put aside with just this heart and intent to number one, worship the Lord, but then also to want to be a blessing to this nation and an encouragement to this nation. I think it's a great opportunity for people to come, and it's a great season for people to come and visit Israel.
You are traveling all over the world. You know what it means to see churches all over the world supporting Israel.
Yeah, we not only have a mandate here in Israel, but we also have it in the nations.
Yes.
And in the nations, we serve the local body of Christ with our message. Jesus at the center, his character of covenant-keeping God highlighted in his dealings with Israel. And the Lord has been good to us. We've been able to touch the whole nations. We raised the global prayer on behalf of Israel, and we are acting as a bridge between the Gentile nations and Israel. And we do all this because we know that whoever blesses Israel shall be blessed.
Actually, to bless Israel, practically there's much more than just coming here as a visitor to this land. Nicole, what can people do in order to help Israel very practically?
Well, since Israel was established as a nation, you know that they've been very successful in a great many areas. However, there's still a lot of challenges that Israel faces today in the area of social needs. And it gives us an opportunity as Christians to reach out in a practical expression of love and support for this people and to say to Israel that she's not alone. We have the privilege and the opportunity to work with every sector of Israeli society, whether that's the Jewish, secular, Orthodox, Arabs, Druze, Bedouin. Everyone in the whole society, we have the opportunity to work in every sector.
I like what 1 Corinthians 13 says, the love chapter, how it describes love as patient and kind. It also says that love rejoices in the truth. As Christians, we want to be out there, and we carry out our media publications initiative through many mediums. We have a daily news service where reports go out by email. We also post it on our website, www.icej.org. And we have a weekly radio program, Front Page Jerusalem, heard on about 100 Christian radio stations across North America, also around the world. We have weekly TV spots now on Daystar. We're going to be working with God TV on a weekly program called Word from Jerusalem. And our monthly magazine is also called Word from Jerusalem, which it gives you updates about our events, our activities, also current affairs, analysis, I think most important Bible teachings about Israel. And I think when you get to the core of it, we want to speak biblical truth to the church, to the nations about Israel.
You just had the privilege to meet our leadership team here in Jerusalem and to be part of one of our strategic meetings which take place every single week here. Here we strategize, we plan, we think about how we can bless Israel at the best. And I want to invite you personally today to partner with the International Christian Embassy here in Jerusalem. We are your embassy. We want to be there for you in order to convey your blessings and to convey your love to the Jewish people. Please stand with us, please pray for us, and prayerfully consider to support us financially. Thank you so much, and may the Lord bless you here out of Zion.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us next week for all of your Israel updates.